Join us, Alix
and Colleen,
self-proclaimed fake it till you make it experts, as we navigate the highs and lows of being a woman and how the pressure and overwhelm of trying to do it all often leads to feeling like an imposter in our own lives. On this week's episode, we're chatting with fellow business owner and creative Michelle McCann. Join us as we discuss marketing, aging, small town life, and overcoming imposter syndrome throughout it all.
Hi, Alix.
Hi, Colleen.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good. We are kind of coming off a little bit of a high with last week's episode with Dr. Ashley, which actually will be in a couple of days on. So people will hear the episode before they hear us talking about the episode.
Yes, this will go live 2 weeks after Dr. Ashley's episode.
Yeah. She was wonderful.
She always is.
Isn't she? She's so knowledgeable. My favorite part was the same as what you were saying during the episode, how she was able to, what's the word you use, that she's able to take her stories and
Oh, the analogy.
the analogy.
She is an analogy queen. Like I said during that recording, my husband, he can swing a pretty good analogy, and he really sticks to it for longer than probably he should. But hers were really amazing, and I appreciate a good analogy because sometimes my brain just doesn't compute things in a straightforward way. So if there's a visualization or something that I can kind of attribute it to, it helps me.
But it also allows us to remember
Yes.
the things that she talked about. Like even she was talking about, sometimes things being a salsa dance, that you step back a little bit or you're kind of on one foot for a second. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's really, so I've thought about that a few times this week about the salsa dance, but also taking deposits and withdrawals and like all of it. It was really good for remembering some of the things that she talked about.
She's just a wealth of knowledge. And if you haven't listened to that episode, you definitely should go back and listen to it. And if you haven't come to one of our live recordings, you should, because there was also a really impressive question and answer period afterwards. It's not part of the live recording. So those are the types of things that you could, be a part of if you show up to our live recordings.
You got to come to the imposters roster to get the extra.
That's right.
Stuff.
Little bonus.
Little bonuses. I was trying to find in my head there, as I was saying imposter roster, I was trying to think of another word that rhymed with imposter roster. And to foster it fell apart. So I sound like
the opportunity cost her.
It cost her to not come to imposter roster. See, you're good.
Right. Yes.
That's because you are the marketing genius. And with us this evening, we will roll right into, we have another marketing genius with us. We have Michelle McCann from Bold and Italic.
Hi, friends.
How are you?
I'm good.
It's so good to see you. And you were here last week.
I have to say, when you were talking about Dr. Ashley's analogies, when she says you can't untoast,
Yes.
that's the one that sticks in my head.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, all right. When it's done, you can't untoast it. So slather it in peanut butter and carry on.
You got to do what you got to do.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah, no, she 2 Sundays in a row out of your house.
I know it's a lot.
Yeah, we're here with you.
Yeah.
I also feel like it's a lot.
Yeah, I'm like, but I am wearing leggings again, so I feel somewhat comforted. However, I am wearing a bra, and that's
Well, you've got me beat.
Yeah.
that's my thing where I'm just like, okay, I got up this morning, got showered, put the bra on then. Otherwise, like, you would have been getting a message from me going, I'm not feeling good.
So we have, funny enough, we've tried to do this podcast with you a couple of times. Let's talk about Roxy, your beloved dog.
Goodness. My boss lady.
Yes.
I'm her personal assistant.
Yes.
My little one-eyed chihuahua.
So one-eyed chihuahua, because the first time we tried to book you actually was when you were taking her back for surgery.
Yes, back in August.
Yeah.
So she had an injury to her eye that went completely sideways, upside down, inside out, and resulted in her getting pirate surgery. So she's a little pirate girl now. And it was just a saga, right? Like I think that I was booked to be with you on the Sunday after she was meant to have her surgery, but that when she was meant to have her surgery, that went pear-shaped, and she ended up not having the surgery. And the day after I was supposed to be with you, I ended up in PEI at the doggy cardiologist.
That's right.
Yeah, so it's a good thing she's cute. But
It
the girl needs a
is.
job. And I'm like starting to think of that, doggy influencer area. I'm
My
like,
husband and I have talked about that for months because, our animals would always do these things. And I'm like, why aren't we just taking video of them? We could be millionaires.
Exactly,
Or at least
and-
have a lot of dog treats.
There's people doing it.
well,
I
and
mean,
from the marketing point of view, Roxy with one eye, like change her name from ROXY to ROXI, and she becomes
oh,
Roxy with
with
one
an eye.
eye. But I'm just saying.
You
I could. It's like look for the Instagram account.
yeah,
Coming
exactly.
soon.
You could I had an Instagram account for my dog at one point and I loved it. But here's what I loved about it, and I haven't gotten rid of it even though the dog is gone. I love that I only followed dog accounts
Yes.
and cat accounts,
Yeah.
animal accounts.
Yeah.
So every now and then when I'm having a rotten day, I jump over to Artichoke's account and you just see dog and cat and giraffe and parrots and
Yeah.
snakes and lizards. It's so great.
Yeah, that's my
'Cause
TikTok
sometimes
account.
people are
Because I'm like, I don't follow people on TikTok. I follow farm animals
Yeah.
and chihuahuas and assorted fuzzy creatures that make me happy.
Yeah, I think sometimes, social media is hard on all of us and we work in it, so we know how hard it is.
Yeah.
And sometimes we just want to dive into that. I want to see ducks and chickens.
Right. It's
Yeah, my
joy.
husband curates all that stuff for me.
Does he send it to you? Does he
Yes,
send
well,
you
he
the?
collects them and then we watch them at night.
Oh, I like that.
That's wonderful.
It's nice.
That's a
Yeah.
relationship for you.
Yeah. I'm like,
Yeah, well, he
Yes.
puts a lot of time and effort into it. And if I don't make the time to watch them, it's a problem. Curated
because
his
he has
feed.
spent time. This is his
Uh,
love language.
So yes, it is. It is
Yes.
a love language.
That's
So.
Yeah.
sweet. Well, it's a nice thing to do. I recommend everybody fill their feeds with happy
Yes.
things.
Yes.
Michelle,
Great.
tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh God. I'm me. Hi. No, so I'm Michelle. I own Bold Metallic, which is I say digital marketing, but I do it all.
Mm.
Let's be real. I live in a small town where scope creep is like, I
Mm.
should have just called the business scope creep, or
Yeah.
I'll do it. Because that's what ends up happening. People find out you can do one thing and you end up doing a whole bunch of things. So I've had the business for 11 years now.
Yeah.
Started in 2013, which blows my mind. I was thinking that as I was driving down here this evening, because of course, like when you're driving into the city, it looks so different now than it did. Like I moved back to Truro. I lived in Halifax for a dozen years and I moved back to Truro 14 years ago. And it's completely
Oh, yeah.
completely different. Even when I look, here on Larry Utech and I look over there, that was just trees. And,
Mhm.
and I was just like, oh my God, it's so different. But yes, Michelle, you've been gone for 14 years
Yeah,
and stuff
it
changes.
happens. Mm.
So I've been in business for 11 years and kind of, navigating being self-employed, still going.
Mm.
So that's something.
Yeah, you
Kudos to
do.
you.
And you've got some long-time contracts that you've had for a long time. You've
I-
got some good.
I do. At this point, I have one that I've been working with since the beginning. So, and technically they're three. So I work with the Halifax Comedy Festival, and the producers of that also run the Halifax Busker Festival. So I'm a little festival girl this time of year. And then they do other events during the year as well.
So I've always been surprised. Okay, let's put Michelle on the hot spot here. You come in for Busker Fest. You
Mhm.
are all over social. You're doing Busker Fest. You're doing the Halifax Comedy Fest. You go. I know you, and you are quite an introvert.
I am.
So how on earth does that, how long does it take you? Dr. Ash talked last week about
Yeah.
recovery.
Yeah.
How long does it take you to recover from festival mode?
Yeah. So with comedy is its own little beast because it's 4 days. And I know those 4 days are coming. They're in 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
May 8th to 11th, but this probably won't be up before that. But if it is, kindly buy tickets if you hear.
I can't compute.
It'll be up in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from tomorrow. What's that?
It might be close.
Actually, it's going to be up on the 8th.
Oh,
No, 7th.
7th.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect.
There you go.
Awesome. There you so perfect.
Go get tickets.
See, now I can claim my drive down here because I did some marketing.
That's right.
Throw in a commercial.
Exactly. But so that is it's a pretty intensive, like 6 months, because I am actively, like right now, unfortunately, they gave me access to the ticket app, so I can go in and see how our ticket sales are doing.
Oh.
So of course I'm looking at
Are you
when,
obsessing?
yeah, of
Oh.
course I am. Right. Cause that's what I do. It's like, I posted this today. Why haven't 18 tickets sold in the past 15 minutes? Like,
Right.
right. So I'm but it helps to know what works and what doesn't work, right? Because ticket sales change from year over year. We've gone through COVID. We're now, I always say, we used to worry about competing with other events. Now we compete with groceries and gas money. So
Yeah.
with the way people buy tickets changes. And now we're in that last minute, which is, it's Nova Scotia. We buy things last minute. So it'll be great. And we have like 5 sold out shows. I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
But those 4 days are very intensive, and I psych myself up for them because I enjoy them so much.
Oh, nice.
I get to hang around with like 30 really cool people who are pursuing their dream,
Mm.
right? Like it's really inspirational when you think about it, because they're doing stand-up comedy. Like, it's one thing to be like, yeah, I'm self-employed, I do marketing, and I basically like hide behind a computer 92% of the time. They're on stage, so vulnerable, and to watch them kick ass is the best feeling in the world, right? To just kind of witness that this is either somebody who's been around for a long time and they're still doing amazing, or it's a baby comedian, it's their first festival, and their first, because CBC records it, right? So for a lot of them, it's their first TV recording, and it's a big deal. So getting to have the green room energy of the nervousness before they go on, and the excitement when they come off, and the camaraderie that is in the community, the comedy community in Canada, that's a lot of C's.
That is,
but that
is marketing.
yeah.
that camaraderie, and just, I would say it's like summer camp. Like everybody comes back for summer camp. Some kids are new, some kids have been there forever, but everybody comes back, has a great time, and then goes on their merry way in another direction.
That's cool.
And then I sleep for 3 days.
Yeah, 3 days. 3 days is your recovery.
Pretty much. Like I think I have a meeting scheduled for the Monday after, and that'll be an if. Like
Yeah.
that'll be they've already know that I'm like, I might not, I'll be there.
Yeah.
But we'll
Physically be there.
yes.
But I'm
yeah.
gonna skip ahead some of the questions I had in my head, because
Yeah.
you just had me think about something. So you've got new people that have never been on TV before.
Yeah.
You're dealing with them you must be dealing with some people with imposter syndrome that
Oh,
you're
I'm
talking them off
sure. You know what? Not me.
Okay.
Because I kind of, in the green room and stuff, like that's why you won't see during the festival a whole lot of content that is not like, hey, we still have tickets left kind of content, because I don't like to invade their space. The green room's a sacred place. If they come to me and say, hey, Michelle, let's do something fun, or they do it and then I share it.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, I don't want to be in there going, hey, let's,
Yeah.
make a reel,
Mm.
when they are very focused. And some comedians are really like laser focused. Some of them, you'd never know that they're about to go out on stage in front of, 1,000 people. They're just having a great time. But some are laser focused. And so I have no doubt though, that if I had a
Mm.
conversation with any of them about it, that, oh, for sure.
Yeah,
For
I would
sure.
think.
Yeah, because, ultimately they're putting themselves out there. And anytime you put yourself out
There's a
there,
risk.
there is a total risk. So,
Especially with comedy.
right.
I would think.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm funny. I'm funny in the green room. Put me on the stage and I'd be like,
Well,
Yeah.
I would think, I would think people would find you enjoyable through that whole process, because you are funny. You
Yeah.
are a very funny woman. I'm the same though, and Alix too. I think we are all funny women, and people are always like, why don't you have why don't you do this? You guys should
They
do
thought we
more.
were comedians.
We thought, we cannot,
Yeah.
I can do off the cuff stuff,
Mhm.
but to actually rehearse something and I'd sound like an idiot. I would
Well,
never be able
yeah.
to.
It's a show.
Yeah.
It's a show. Those bits sometimes are lengthy and they weave back in and out.
Oh,
They speak to each other later on down the road, and it's like an art form. It's not the same as just, having one-liners or off the cuff stuff or being like generally witty.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing.
No. And
Yeah.
if you see somebody multiple times and you see their act and it has similar bits in it. I'm like, that feels fresh. How does that feel fresh when I literally saw that a year ago? The exact, or because very often I'm pulling clips for people. Because I try to promote everybody. Everybody gets a clip, everybody gets their headshot, to make sure that people know that they're at the festival. And so I might hear a joke before the festival, and then I'll hear it again when they're on stage at the fest. And I'm just like, it's completely different because the room's different, vibes different.
Yeah. What a
It's just
talent.
everything. It's really
It's
like,
incredible to me.
I really admire, like, it's like, I'll send them all the link being like, hey guys, I love you. But it's such a cool, it's such a cool event to be part of.
I would think that would be a very fun contract.
Yes, definitely.
A lot of work.
A lot of work for sure, but
fun.
also a client that really, if you're going to have any client that you work with for 11 years, this is my 12th festivals that I'm going into. It has to be these two ladies that I work with, Kim Hendrickson and Christina Edwards, appreciate what I do. Just give me carte blanche, pretty much. If they say that they don't like something, it has to really suck. Because normally it's just like, yep, looks great. Oh, looks great. So there's a lot of trust there. And I control our very slim, but very powerful little marketing budget.
Yeah.
It was given to me. So it's all social media. We do all of our marketing on social media. And I'm like, that's a huge change from like a decade ago.
Yeah.
When we do newspaper and radio
sure.
and everything.
So the whole
Yeah.
brand,
Yeah.
that you're
Oh God,
you?
that's been
It's-
around the festival will be 30 next year.
Okay. It's
Yeah.
so good.
Oh, isn't it great?
It's so
fantastic.
good. But for some reason I'm noticing that they're using it more this year or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be me using it. I definitely go through years where I just go, I don't need it.
Sure.
Because we have a pretty solid brand with just Halifax Comedy Fest.
Yeah.
But when you throw the Haas up there, and then it's really quite fun. There is a gentleman who is part of the CBC crew, who his job, and I don't know if you've ever watched an episode of the festival on CBC, but in between when they're going to commercial or in between bits, they'll have the comedians and they'll have like kind of swing shots where the comedians are going, ha, like they're doing something kind of like, ha, like they'll make it their own.
One of the ways to combat imposter syndrome is to actually listen to how awesome the people in your life think you are. If you're looking for the perfect gift for a loved one, where you can tell them all of the things that make them special, visit my Drawbridge Creative Etsy shop and purchase a Things We Love About You custom poster. With several styles to choose from, it's a fabulous gift for any milestone birthday, anniversary, retirement, or just because. Okay, so let's talk about you and imposter syndrome.
Yeah,
Yeah. How
it's
does
a
the show
thing.
do with imposter syndrome?
Oh,
Tell me your relationship with it. When did it first show up and how long's it been hanging around?
it's funny because as I'm driving down, I've got an hour to think. I'm answering your questions before you even ask them. It's like 18, you won't even think to ask me that I've already answered in my head. But it's been, honestly, I think my entire professional life, for sure. Like, I have that only child-itis where, again, going back to last week when Dr. Ashley was talking about, being the oldest daughter. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like the only daughter and the only child. I've always put a lot of pressure on myself to do, because when I was looking at what kind of imposter syndrome do I have, it's like the perfectionist and the soloist. I got to do it right and I got to do it all myself.
Yeah.
But that's always coming from a place of, I always did it all myself, right? Like from a kid until I was like looking after my parents until they passed away, it was always me. So that's kind of the mindset I went into with my business, which isn't necessarily healthy, because I'm in a position right now where I'm heavily feeling imposter syndrome, right? Like it's just because I'm in this a little bit of an ebb in business, which I'm not used to because I've been booked solid for 10 years. And now I'm just like, oh, well, that's because I suck.
Yeah.
Like everything.
I mean, no, you don't suck.
Thanks, Alex.
100%.
Yeah.
understand that feeling.
Yeah, as soon as something doesn't go right, it's just, and of course, a lot of emotional stuff on top of it, because when I was dealing with the stuff with Roxy in the summer, it was very emotional. And I had planned on taking a break, and then that break was kind of forced upon me. And then, vet bills, they're awesome. So then we were like, okay, I'm done with the break. Come on, people. Well, why aren't the people just all running to me now? I'm ready for you. Well, it's because I suck, right? So it's heavy.
Well, you're sitting at a table of people that suck.
I mean,
We're-
we don't suck. The
None of
economy
us do.
sucks.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the economy
The
does
economy
suck.
The economy
sucks.
sucks.
The way that people are spending on marketing is
Mhm.
changing.
Yeah, because we're a thing that can get cut.
Oh,
Right?
for sure.
Oh,
When I
sure.
worked in corporate, my budget was always the one that got cut.
Yeah.
Always.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was funny. My son was even talking this weekend about, he's in landscaping. He does hardscaping, and he said, budgets are tough and people are building their house. They have all these plans for, and then things get behind. And he goes, suddenly we're at the end and it's my time to come in and put grass down and do all the stairwells and do all the patios. And they're like, no, we're just gonna slap a little sod on this year. Like,
Yeah.
because, they gotta cut it somewhere. And
Exactly.
it's the same with us. I think it's the marketing that tends to get cut.
It does. Yeah.
Um,
And it's, but it's still important. And I think people realize that, but it's the easiest thing to cut. Right?
Yeah, we have to spend money to make money. Is that kind of age old,
Exactly.
whatever you want to call it, cliche or whatever it is, but
yeah.
it's true.
Mhm.
I think the way that people are thinking about marketing is changing too, which is a little bit challenging. And I
Mhm.
think third-party marketing may or may not be going through some major renovations
sure.
as well. So
Sure.
it's an uncertain landscape. So I certainly understand what you're saying because I feel
Yeah.
it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
How's your imposter syndrome when you do get a new client?
Normally it eases. Sometimes though, you get that rocky onboarding period, right? Where you're just like, okay, especially when, like I said, the clients that I'm working with now, for the most part, I've been working with for a fairly long period of time.
Yeah.
And by long, I mean, I have one client, I've been working with him for 4 years, but it's been constantly for 4 years, right? So I know them very well and I know their ins and outs. So anytime you start something new, it's oh, well, but they want it like this. And, oh, can I make all of that content? Right? Because that's the immediate thing of like, okay, well, video is so important. And this is so important. And do I have the skills to apply it to somebody new? Do I,
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's their brand voice? How can I make sure
Exactly.
that I'm doing it properly? And,
Exactly.
what is their feedback mechanism? And,
Yeah.
how will I interact with that? Those are some of the things that I definitely experience.
Exactly.
And then the
Yeah.
tools are constantly changing.
Oh my God.
The tools to do our job are constantly changing and evolving and messing up. And, the second Instagram goes down or Instagram decides not to be nice to us for a bit,
Mhm.
we're kind of all just sitting there going, okay, now what? Like, it's tough. It's tough when
Yeah.
things aren't working.
Yeah. Yeah. And you hit that frustration too, with sometimes when people are having issues and of course they reach out to you and they're just like, well, you do this all the time. You must know how to fix it. I'm like, I promise you, I do not.
Yeah.
I'm like, because if it didn't go wrong for me, I don't know how to fix it. And even, simple things like getting, like I said, working with a new client and getting them to add you.
Yeah.
Right.
And it having to be an 18, like I had to send, it used to be a here, just do this. It was like this, like a
Yeah.
2-line instruction on how to add me so that I could do stuff on your account. Now it's 18. And if this is this, then this, and this is this and
Yeah.
that. And I'm just like, oh my God, why did they make it so freaking complicated?
It is really complicated right now. It really and truly is.
Yeah.
And the thing that we do best right now is like change management, that we can
Yes.
constantly,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, give me a second. And then we're over looking it up real fast. And it's, oh, let me, show you how to do it.
Yeah.
But,
Well, the true value I think that we bring to the table is time saving.
oh,
Yeah.
For others. It's
sure.
not,
Definitely.
obviously the marketing portion is very important, but knowing that you can depend on someone else who's going to go in and troubleshoot for you, who's going to understand things or going to take the time to figure it out so you don't have to. That's the true value that we bring. And sometimes I have to remind myself of that when I get caught up in some of the other metrics that, are
And
largely out of my
interpretation.
control.
Yeah.
And interpretation for people as well, right? Because like I said, I do a lot of Facebook ads and you look at it and you'll be like, okay, well, I'm going to pull a number out of my top of my head, but like, okay, that ad got 500 clicks through to our website. Well, we only sold 8 tickets. Like, what went wrong? And trying to explain, okay, well, here's, you know, what the click-through rate was versus how many clicks we got. And here's, you know, just the way that Meta changes the way it serves people things. And so explaining, because a lot of the times I've hit up upon people in marketing who will come in with the, you know, the vanity metrics and be like, you got 10,000 views. Well, you didn't sell anything.
Yeah.
So what was your ultimate goal? So I'm always very clear with people about that. It was like, okay, it's fine to set a goal on Facebook, but what is your actual goal?
Yeah.
Like,
Going viral means nothing.
oh,
if you're
it's
not
a
gonna get
pain in the butt.
sales
Actually,
from it.
sometimes it's problematic
So
Yeah.
sometimes
for
it is,
engagement.
for
yeah,
sure.
I've had a couple of things go viral. One was birds on stilts that we had at Buskers in 2022.
I remember that.
That was just a silly little video that Christina, our event director, sent me because she was on site when they walked out, and it went, I don't even want to know, it was at like 30 million on
Wow.
Facebook views, but it wasn't quality because, you know, looking at the engagement, not a lot of it was from Canada. Right, like I said, it got caught in the stream. It did really well, and it got caught in the stream and went overseas, and it
Yeah.
got stuck in that kind of click farm land. But then I had a clip that went viral on TikTok of all places last year. That was a clip from an old comedy fest of one of the comedians who was at the festival last year. His name's Lachlan Patterson. And it's a funny little clip talking about how the next generation of old people is going to be the worst. Because, you know, our grandparents all had like pictures of, this is Charles Lindbergh before he flew across the Atlantic Ocean. And then the next generation is going to be like, here's a picture of my lunch. Here's a picture of the, you know, the wing of a plane. And it's a perfect TikTok clip.
Yeah.
And the last time I checked, that was at about 3 million. But he saw benefit from that. We didn't. We saw a great, you know, increase in our followers, but they were all in the States, so it didn't really matter. But he saw benefit because he came to me at the festival. He was like, listen, I've had like people reach out about it. I've had, you know, interest from like Julia Lewis contacted him, the actress. So he was really stoked about it.
But I
So
guess
that's good viral
the good viral
versus
too.
pointless viral.
Yeah, the good part of that too is it would give him a good feeling about Halifax and the management of
Oh, yeah.
Halifax's run and whatnot.
Yeah.
So there is some benefit to it, but I guess not a.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a nice little bragging point,
Yeah, nice
right?
little-
Like I
yeah.
definitely put it in there sometimes when I know that people are impressed by that shit.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
it's a
I've had a TikTok hit 3 million views. And like, it's still going every time I go in, because I haven't posted on that TikTok account in like months. And I went in and looked, and it was like, it had hit 3 million the last time I looked, but still comments every day. I'm just like, good God, like the machine of content
Mhm.
is a lot.
It is a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah, it is a lot. You say you were, okay, hang on. You
Mhm.
were soloist,
I'm perfectionist.
perfectionist.
I'm a Virgo.
Hmm.
I'm a Virgo who's an only child. It's a problem.
That's my son. Son is a Virgo only child.
Virgo only child.
Welcome.
Problematic.
Bad?
The perfectionist, we all know that one.
Mhm.
You want to get things done 99% out of 100 equals failure. You want things
Yeah.
to be 100%.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they got to be perfect. Are you still perfectionist,
I-
or do you work with that?
I try to be easier on myself
Mm.
just because it's hard on the head.
Yeah.
Right. Because sometimes done is better than not done, or what they say, done is better than perfect, or whatever the saying is. And I'm just like, sometimes it's just like, stop chewing on it.
Yeah.
Because especially if I'm doing design work,
Yeah.
and then I get stuck in, you know this, right? You get stuck in it, and you're just like, when you start moving things like a pixel,
Yeah, I know.
then that's a problem.
Yeah, you're
then
zoomed in as far as you can go. And you're
yeah,
still moving things.
yeah,
pixels.
because I'll send it to a client and I'll be like, listen, I have chewed the flavor right out of this piece of Hubba Bubba. So you have to tell me if it's actually good or not,
Yeah.
because I don't know anymore. But then sometimes I have ones I'm just like, oh, you did that. That was good.
Yeah, you nailed
Yeah.
it.
But the cool thing about working with a client for so long, especially one that's so design heavy as like the Comedy Fest, is I can look back at what, like, I looked at my very first post last week that I ever did for Comedy Fest, and then looked at the one I did like this week. I'm like, oh girl, you've come a long way, baby.
See, that's a fun reel right there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
your growth through.
And
yeah.
I think I'm actually going to do something with it, because 2 of the comedians who were on my first post are on this year's festival as well,
Yeah.
11 years later. And I'm just like, oh my God, you were babies. I was a baby, but I was making stuff in Publisher. And I
Yeah.
was just I was like, wow, I can do things in grids.
Yeah.
Publisher. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So now I'm just
That's
like,
crazy.
yeah. So it's nice to be able to see that and be like, okay, like I've gotten better.
I'm glad you've gotten better.
Yeah, me too.
I'm glad you've gotten better both as a perfectionist and as a creative. But I mean, we get better all the time. We do, our work gets better. Soloist. Soloist cares mostly about who completes the task. To make it on the achievement list, it has to be you and you alone. You think you need to do and figure out everything on your own. Needing help is a sign of failure. Michelle,
Yeah.
that's a tough one.
It is a tough one, and I'm working on that too. I'm lucky though that I've been able to collaborate with some really fabulous people like Sam Adore. We did Local Love Truro together and that kind of thing, where it felt very much like a partnership, and it didn't feel like, you know, that school project where one person did all the work. We very much, you know, but even in those situations, I'm very cognizant, because I'm like, oh, is she doing more than I'm doing? Should I be doing more? Because I
That's a
don't want the
big thing for me.
balance to be
Yeah.
off, right?
Yeah.
Which she would just laugh at me about. I can hear her right now if she's listening to this, laughing about that. But like going back to being an only child, and you know, I went through a rough patch with my parents as they got older, and dealing with, you know, my mom's dementia and managing their care and their health and all that kind of thing. And I had to do it myself.
Yeah, it was rough. It was a rough couple of years.
Yeah, you got to live that on Twitter
Yeah.
with me.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
Yeah.
Um,
But you know what? I liked that, you know, as much as you were on your own
Mhm.
through that,
mhm.
this is where I love social media, because you
Yes.
were on your own with parents with failing health, older parents with
Mhm.
failing health, and you were posting your thoughts on Twitter,
Yeah,
and you had a community.
I really did.
Yeah.
That's why I still have a soft spot for Twitter, despite whatever Elon is doing to it.
Yeah.
And I have this, I don't want to give it up, because it was such a community.
Really,
Well, it was
truly.
such a community in Halifax to begin with. On a good day, it was
Yeah,
a-
I
it
don't
was
know
a
if
community.
every province has had what
I
Halifax
don't
had
think so.
in that Twitter community.
I
Yeah.
think we were really lucky.
Yeah.
And because I have so many real life friendships.
Yeah, that's how I
came
met you.
from- Yeah,
Yeah.
they came from Twitter.
yeah.
So yeah, and then I did have a fabulous support system.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of people, you know, who reached out, and it was great in that sense.
Yeah.
But with the down and dirty decision making, it was all me.
I can't imagine.
Yeah. So, and that really affected me long term. And I'm actually unpacking this now.
Are you? Yeah.
10 years after my dad's gone, but I'm unpacking it because it is because I will be I'm very sensitive to letting people down. And that's where that
Yeah.
comes from. It's like,
Pleasing.
yeah, and doing it the right way. Like, did I do this right? Is it the way it should be done? Is it, you know, it's just it's a lot that I put myself through in that sense.
Mm.
Because the letting somebody down is like my worst sin.
Yeah.
Absolute worst sin.
I will tell you, as an outsider, I can't imagine. I mean, you obviously have to unpack it, but I don't think you in any way
Mhm.
whatsoever let your parents down.
Yeah,
You were in their heart. You were a good
I
daughter.
appreciate
Yeah.
that.
There,
Thank
there was
you.
no letting your parents down.
It's just,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of stuff, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's a lot of stuff.
It's a lot of pressure.
It is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and you went through it. You went through it at a young age. 'Cause
Yeah.
your parents had you.
My mom was
little older,
42
yeah.
and my dad was 48
Yeah.
when I was born. So dad's been gone 10 years. He died when I was 39.
Yeah,
I'll be 50 in September.
yeah,
And then mom's been gone for 7. But her dementia, that whole journey
ooh,
started before I moved back to, like, that was why I moved back to Truro.
Yeah.
Was to be closer to my mom and dad, but I also got a good job. I never wanted to move back just to be a caretaker because I'm not a caretaker. But I moved back at the perfect time to have to deal with all of this. But mom's dementia started, oh God, probably 20 years ago.
Yeah. You told some fun and loving and sweet stories
Mhm.
about your mom during that time. You taught me a lot about dementia through your mom, and I really appreciate that now as I'm
Mm.
going through stuff with my parents, you know?
I'm seeing that a lot with a lot of my friends, of course, where I'm, older parents. I'm a chunk ahead of a lot of people.
Sure.
So I have a lot of friends now going through it. And, they're like the early sign of something. I'm like, you gotta get that dealt with. Gotta get that. That's something. Don't ignore that, because if I can save somebody from some of the
What do you think?
drama.
Why do you think it's taken you 10 years to start to unpack it? Just pain?
I think so.
Not just, what a horrible thing.
Just the pain.
Yeah.
I live for the pain, darling. I think because the timing of it all, I started my business in 2013. Dad died in 2014. I answered a business email at my father's tea after his funeral because he's from Cape Breton, of course. So there was a tea with, squares, and church ladies made things and all that kind of thing.
And you answered?
I answered a work email sitting because I was so uncomfortable also, right? Because
Yeah.
I didn't want to be there. I'm like, just get me out of here. So I used work as a way to kind of focus somewhere else. And then I just kind of kept going because you had to keep going.
Yeah, I did that too.
Yeah, it's very, and then all of a sudden, it's 3 years later, but my mom actually took her turn when I was at the comedy festival.
Oh, okay.
And they called me on the Friday of the fest. I think it was the Friday, saying, okay, something's happening, but not imminently happening, but something's happening. I'm like, okay, do I stay or do I go? Dorothy McCann loved herself a party. So if I were to leave a guaranteed good time, she would have been very upset with me. So I stayed, and then she passed away like 10 days after the festival ended. So I was there for the whole thing. And I think that was a huge part of it too, was that I stayed with her. Like I was there with her and went through the whole thing. And then I thought, because with dementia, you feel like you've been mourning somebody for
Long time,
years.
yeah.
So I thought it would just be like, okay, she's gone. Now I'll just pack it all up and everything's fine. No, and it bit me in the butt. I ran from it, and then a year later, it kind of bit me in the butt, but I had to keep going. Because again, I'm single. I'm my only source of income. So I can't take a break, right? It's like, if I take a break, the bills don't get paid.
Plus, you don't want to take a break because you think you're gonna
It's momentum.
crack.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you stop,
Yep.
it's all gonna fall apart. Like you're gonna fall apart.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
I wonder if, so here we are 10 years later and you're unpacking. Is some of that your age also, that you're like, I'm 50 and I want to explore this a little bit more? Because you were in your 30s. That's pretty young to be dealing with some of this stuff.
It really was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I won't lie, turning 50 I'm having a moment,
Yeah.
right? Like, I have a lot of friends who are really embracing it. And I'm just like, but in my brain, I'm going, that's a big number. It's
Yeah.
a big number. It's a thing. And I'm, so I'm trying to get comfortable with it at the same time as just being, I have a friend who I chatted with about this whole thing a few weeks ago, and very much because I live alone and I talk to myself a lot. So she pointed out to me that she noticed that when I am explaining something, I also, or I say I feel a certain way, and then I explain why. So I don't just say, oh, I'm feeling sad. I say, I'm feeling sad because of this, because I'm always having a conversation with myself. I'm constantly talking to myself. I'm overthinking everything and that sort of thing. So I'm trying to get some of that conversation out of my head and out into the world where it can either live or die, right? Like some of the things I have conversations with myself about are bullshit, absolute bullshit. And I would like to throw them out into the world and have them shrivel and die. and just go away. And then
This
some.
podcast is a great opportunity to do that.
Yes.
Yes, throw it out there.
Welcome to my therapy.
Listen, this is therapy a lot, believe me. If you want extra therapy, Alex and I meet here Thursdays at 10:30.
Oh,
And
you say
it
Roxy
is-
has daycare on Thursdays.
There
I could
you
come to
go.
the city.
It is therapy session, but I rely, we talk about this in here. We've talked about it so many times. I rely on Alex
Mhm.
for that
Vice versa.
hour,
Yeah.
2 hours
Yeah.
because life's hard.
It
right?
is.
And so
yeah.
you have to find those trusted people that you can bare your soul. And sometimes I fill Alex in on something and then it's like, okay, I can let that go now and
Yep.
let's move on to the next thing,
Yeah.
because you have to have those, we call them hype girls, but you need to have those.
You do. And
Yeah.
I actually feel really lucky because I have this nice little network of a handful of fantastic women who own their own businesses, who, there's a group of us who will co-work together, but half the time we don't actually work. It's
Oh,
like it's
yeah.
co-working
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
quotes. But seeing different perspectives.
Yeah.
Because we all have very different lives,
Mhm.
like my life is different as a single person, self-employed versus somebody who's married with kids and who's
Mhm.
trying to make this work and that kind of thing. So I really take a lot of comfort in that network.
Mm.
I just sometimes forget that I can tell them things,
Oh,
right? It's like, because you always have that, I find too, it kind of goes back to being in what we do because it's kind of competitive. Although everybody who has a business in marketing and social media, I always feel like we're kind of compatriots more than anything else. I've really focused in the past year on developing a really fabulous network of people who are amazing and I trust. And yeah, that's been a real benefit to me.
It's a game changer when you're an entrepreneur, I think. I mean,
It
it's a
is.
game changer regardless
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
have a support system.
Yep.
But as an entrepreneur, it can be pretty isolating.
It really can.
Yeah.
And especially when you're hard on yourself
Yeah.
and you're, laying in bed going, oh my God, I need to bill more next month.
yeah.
I can't do anything about that at 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, those are the conversations I also have with
Ooh.
myself.
I fear for everybody's business in general. And I
Yeah.
don't mean that just for what we do. I mean, every small business, right? Like we had a couple of small businesses close in Truro recently. Then I'm just like, oh, you made it and then you didn't.
Yeah.
Right? Like you got so far and then you just couldn't keep going anymore. And it's a sad thing anytime that happens. Like
For
you
sure.
have
My
infants.
friend Mona at
Yeah.
Incandescent is losing Incandescent.
Yeah.
Next week. And
Oh, when she posted, I could feel her heart breaking.
God love her. She made it. She did it. She worked.
Mm-hmm.
She worked her little butt off. And then it's like, oh,
And she's competing with Shein and
exactly.
you know,
Temu and all of those.
Yeah.
And
fast
even
fashion.
thrifting is
yeah.
like way bigger than it used to be.
Yeah.
Huge. Not mostly because of the economy, also because it's trendy to thrift now. When I
Yes.
first started thrifting, it was embarrassing. You
Yes.
didn't tell people
Yep.
that your stuff was thrifted.
Yeah.
You didn't tell people that you were going thrifting because that was embarrassing.
Yeah.
And now it's a flex.
Yeah.
See, I have imposter syndrome over people that thrift now because I'm like, oh, because I don't enjoy it.
I don't enjoy
And
it.
then
I
I
used to
still-
hide. I used to hide anything. If someone asked me where I got something, I would just be like, oh, I don't know.
Somewhere.
I think it's the coolest thing now. And I've got a couple of pieces now that I'm wearing that Alex has thrifted for me. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I love you.
And they're like,
personal
I
thrifter.
like
If you
that. I'm
like
like,
personal
"Cut that for me."
thrifting,
Yes.
I would, I'm your gal.
Yes.
I have my good friend's daughter is a big thrifter and she finds the coolest stuff.
Right?
But I'm I'm not a picker thrower.
That's me. I don't like to dig
You
through.
don't have
No.
to dig anymore.
Yeah.
Are you
Everything is, like
sure?
so upscale now. Everything's hung up by size.
True.
It's not even the same. When I used to thrift as a child in Yarmouth,
It'd
that
be-
was like, and
yeah.
you were digging through the bin.
That's
That
what I
doesn't
remember from
exist anymore.
Frenchie's. From
Actually, I think
Frenchie's.
it still exists
True.
in Yarmouth and that's it. It's a much more upscale situation now.
Yeah.
I will thrift with you more because you have got, although I just like it when you get me thrifty.
Happy to thrift
Right?
She's
you.
thinking of
She's
you.
thinking of me.
That's
It's
a nice
fun.
right.
Anyway,
Um,
we have digressed.
Serving up hot brews, refreshing cold drinks, lots of fresh baked goodies, and delicious lunch options. Visit the Mellow Mug in the heart of Larry Utech for dine-in, takeout, or drive-through service. Their spacious cafe offers a casual and inviting vibe that's perfect for everything from enjoying a good book, hanging with friends, or meeting a colleague. The Mellow Mug is your neighborhood spot for great coffee and delicious eats and sweets. Okay, let's talk about imposter syndrome some more. Tell me, when you were driving down from your car,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, were you nervous to be on a podcast?
No, because you're friends, right?
Good.
Like, you're friendly faces. Honestly, I don't get nervous about this kind of thing anymore because I know, well, kind of more talking about this kind of thing than I would talking about something social media related, because I have my knowledge there. We're here, I'm like showing my personality, but it comes out no matter what.
I am so blown away by the number of people that come on here and they're like, oh, I'm so nervous to come on. I'm like, what?
No.
Imposter syndrome about imposter syndrome.
Yeah,
Anyway.
well, I honestly, I texted Sam that. I said, I think I'm having imposter syndrome about imposter syndrome, but it's only because I'm like, am I actually in a place to actually talk about not having it? But no, maybe it's a good time to talk about it when you feel like you're in the, throes of it.
But I think we should talk when we're in the throes of it. I think we should talk when we're out of it. I think
Mhm.
we should talk when we're feeling confident. I think we should talk because that's going to help whoever's out there in whatever
Yeah.
phase
Yeah.
they're in at any given time. Because we go in and out of these phases.
Oh, for sure. Like
Right?
daily.
Yes.
Like,
So
oh,
if
the
you're
good
feeling-
morning and then a shitty afternoon.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
So if you're
honestly,
feeling
yeah.
great today,
Yeah.
full on, tell us about it. So tell me just what
Hmm.
were you thinking about in the car?
Honestly, I was just kind of thinking about, when have I kind of felt the most imposter syndrome-y?
Yeah.
And it's never really on a personal level. Like, I mean, I have a pretty boring non-work life. Just it's me and Roxy. I'm pretty confident in my knowledge of a chihuahua. But when it comes to, a lot of things around the business, I do have ebbs and flows, like on a daily basis, where I have to sometimes talk myself down from them or focus on something different. Focus on something, if I'm having an issue with something, focus on something I know that I can do well and quickly to get that kind of
The boost.
high of
that's
it
smart.
and be like, okay, all right, you can do this and you can do it well and you can get it done. And then leave the peas on the side of the plate for a little bit later, and then you'll deal with that. I don't really have any tips about other than something like that about dealing with
But
it
I
because
like
I'm
that.
not sure that I deal with it well.
I like the leave the peas on the side.
Yeah, I
of the
like
plate.
that.
I think that
Yeah.
was really smart.
Yeah.
I mean, peas
So-
are gross.
Peas
Right?
I
I
like
mean,
peas.
My
but-
mom would be like, you eat your whole
You eat
dinner.
your
This
best."
isn't a restaurant.
Ah,
But if I don't want the peas, mama, I'm a grown-ass lady. I'm not gonna
grown-ass
eat the
lady, that's
peas.
right. And some of that comes with age too, that we can go, I am a grown-ass lady. I can do
Exactly,
that if I want.
And
Yeah.
some of it honestly came up in your session at Social Media Day Halifax last year when, lovely young woman popped up and said about having imposter syndrome because she's so young. And I'm like, girl, I'm 48 at
Yeah.
that time. I'm like, I have it because do I go into a situation and they see, I dyed my hair this week, so I don't have any gray for 5 minutes, but they see the gray or they see the age over the experience because I have 25 years of marketing experience, right? Like in a wide variety of places, nonprofit and retail. And like, I have a lot of experience and I forget that sometimes. And I
Well-
just think that people go, oh, well, she's trying to be cool by being on the Facebook.
I talk about that all the time because I have a similar thing that
Mhm.
I feel too. Like, am I aging out of this?
Yeah.
Do people think I'm just like a geriatric loser on social media? But, and here's the thing, and there are tons of young people that are coming up and they understand how to make content and they understand how to use their phone and they understand how to film, but do they understand how to get people to act? Do
Exactly.
they understand what messaging is going to actually resonate with people? And I think that's where people like you and I and Colleen come in
Mhm.
with all this experience that actually comes back to the fundamentals of marketing.
Yes.
And that's something different than all these young content creators that are coming up.
Exactly.
And I think there's a real opportunity to work together.
Yes.
That's a great
Yeah.
idea.
Oh, because if somebody could
combine
make all
with
that
some of the-
stuff
yeah.
for me, would
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
fabulous. And then I can throw it out there because I do envy people who can make fantastic fun reels.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
Yeah.
I try and it's just not my forte. I'm trying more, like I'm making an effort eventually, but it's just like, oh, but I could distribute that sucker like
Yeah.
nobody's business.
Like I can write you copy. I can
Yep.
even tell you exactly how to like structure something so that it's going to hit the right audience.
Exactly.
But can I maybe get the angles and the lighting exactly right?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah, but I don't think we're meant to necessarily know how to do it all any more than they don't know. The younger generation
But
doesn't
did
know
you
how to
see
do
that
it
I am a
either. You're a
soloist and I
soloist.
need to know how to do everything?
You do, but we do too. I mean, it's so hard because we are doing it. We're making the reel, we're putting in the messaging, we're putting in the copy, we're putting in the hooks, we're putting in the call to actions, we're making the video.
Mhm.
But you're right. Then I think this is where the comparison paralysis comes into it, because
Well,
then
that's
you
a good
turn around
term.
and you see, this is Alix has used this term a million times, so I just
It's a
used
good-
it for the first time. Thank you.
It's
Yeah,
a good
it's good.
term.
That's a great term.
Mm.
I didn't make it up.
No,
No, but
but it's, we look at somebody in their 20s who throws out this wicked reel
Mhm.
with wonderful angles, and they know how to, like you said, use your camera, and and you're like,
But it's
I
speaking,
should quit.
that is
Like,
speaking to a very specific demographic too.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that we need to remember is that we have a demographic that wants to hear from us.
yes,
True
Who
enough.
understands what we have to say.
Yeah.
And that that content, while it might go viral and it might, really speak to the Gen Zs and that particular market, people in their middle age who have the most disposable income, by the way,
Mhm.
yeah,
don't get that.
Yeah,
They get what we're saying.
Yeah.
They get the language that we're using.
exactly.
They get the angles and the cameras that we're doing. So we have to remember that. And I say this all the time to myself because I get in the same thing. Like, what am I even doing? Like, who am I to be even doing content? I'm a
Yeah.
46-year-old woman. Like, I don't even know what the hell I'm talking about.
And even knowing like the back end of things and seeing how things perform, do I want to spend 3 hours working on something that's going to be seen by 5% of my followers?
Mm,
Yeah.
Let's be
the
real.
ROI.
Yeah, like when I look at it, because I pulled together a fun little clip with some of the comedians doing that, I'm blank, of course I blank
Yes.
trend. So
Yes.
it's like I'm going to Halifax Comedy Fest. Of course I'm
yeah,
whatever. But the time it took to reach out to them, gather the content, make it into something, pull it all together, and then I looked to see like how it performed. I'm like, that wasn't worth it.
No.
Like for the sake of just being a little bit cool. I'm like, but then I look at something that I do and then we promote it and that pushes and that works. So it's the
Trends are tricky though too, because
Yeah.
there's like you have basically like such a small window
for
to
sure.
catch the trend on its up scale, and then if you
Yeah.
catch it too late, it's kind of like it's done.
yeah,
Trends are tricky.
trends are tricky. And yeah, it's that difference between content creation and marketing, I
Yeah.
think, honestly.
Even the people that theoretically know a lot
yeah,
still don't
They're
know
they
what's
knew a
going
lot.
on.
No.
Like if you're on Threads at all, and I enjoy Threads because it's a little bit more honest.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
Everybody is just as frustrated with the platforms as we are.
Yeah.
People with massive followings are seeing drops in reach and engagement. And it's just frustrating. And it doesn't seem to be actually content based.
No,
and
It's
that's the
algorithm.
most frustrating
Yeah.
thing is that you could put together a really great piece of content, it flops, and then like this big, I don't know if you've seen this TikTok, there's this video it's going to be the biggest TikTok viral like ever, and it's this girl driving in her car.
yeah,
yes,
And it's like 3 seconds long.
yeah.
And
exactly.
it's fucking ridiculous.
Yes.
She's hot. That's it.
Yeah.
She's hot.
And it went in
Yeah.
the stream.
Yeah.
And that
And I'm just
stream
like,
kept going.
that makes me want to just pack up and like move
I know.
away from
Yeah.
it, because I'm like, what is the point?
Yep.
What is the point if that's what people want to consume?
Yeah.
And we're telling like a really great story with this piece of content and it's being fed to like 0 humans.
Exactly.
So I get it.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
It is frustrating. I think Alix and I started this Imposter Sisters because we're feeling all of these things as content creators and
Mhm.
marketers, this sort of thing. But I love, all the things that you're feeling,
Mhm.
me and Alix are feeling. What I really love is that the topic of imposter syndrome reaches every facet
Oh,
of everybody's
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
love that we're able to have these conversations,
mhm.
whether, we're here ranting about our own work, but somebody else is having imposter syndrome as a doctor, as a lawyer,
yeah.
as a politician, as
a
a
parent.
parent,
Yeah.
as a, caregiver, as whatever.
Yep.
I think we just have to all be
We have to give ourselves
We have to
grace,
be-
god
give
damn
ourselves
it.
grace. We need to be kinder and gentler and better to one another.
It's so true.
You know,
It's so true. Cause we are our own worst
We're
enemies,
dealing
our
with
own worst
a lot of
critics,
stuff.
our
Well,
own
and-
biggest bullies. Let's be real.
It's
Like I'm a
true.
bully to myself. I would not stand for this if somebody else was doing it to me.
But I think too, you need to take a step back because it's not all our fault. Like this capitalist society that we live in
Yeah.
drives the measures of success.
Yeah.
We don't drive the measures of success. So it's really difficult to really step back and look at the things that actually matter when you're told that these are the things that matter, that you should look
True.
this way, that you should try to stay as young as long as possible,
Yep.
that you should always be producing and hustling and making money, and that your worth is tied into all these things.
Yeah.
Then throw in being a woman into that,
Uh-huh.
aging and all the responsibilities that you have from that perspective too.
Yep.
It's a lot. So I think we really do need to give ourselves grace and understand that we're in this engine that we don't really have full control over.
I think you know what Alex is doing right now is giving the America Ferrera speech.
It's
Yes, I am.
true.
You are
gonna stand
basically doing that speech.
I am wearing a pink hat.
You
It's
are.
true.
That was one of the very best speeches I think I've ever heard.
If you
Mine?
watched it,
Yes.
Yours,
Yes,
yes.
yours. Definitely.
Barbie's speech.
But if you watched if you watched it as a
amazing.
woman and it didn't make you at least tear up a little
I cried
bit,
the entire movie.
I did
and I went with
too.
my son
Oh,
and he loved it.
yeah,
but I just, as that was happening and I'm listening to it, I'm just like, oh my God,
yeah.
I'm so tired.
Exactly.
I
And-
cried.
And
I cried.
we've been set up for, like, no wonder we feel like we're failing. No wonder we feel like imposters. No wonder we compare ourselves to other people. No wonder we're going to therapy, for God's sake.
Yeah.
We're tapped out.
It's so true.
Yeah.
But
How do we untap?
I don't know.
Don't know either.
I think it's one person at a time. It's just, being,
Having these discussions.
yeah,
the conversations. for
Yeah.
You know,
sure.
and I think that's why this podcast resonates with people so much, because these conversations, while everyone kind of knows that they're experiencing it, I think it's eye-opening to people to see how many people are experiencing
Yes.
it that they didn't think were.
yeah,
That's the key.
yeah. Oh, because we
If you
write
think everybody
stories.
else has it all together.
Yeah,
right?
everybody's
Yeah,
got it.
everybody else.
Well,
because we-
social
we
media
do,
is
we-
a highlight reel. Like
Yeah.
all you see is the positive. You don't know what's going on with someone behind the scenes. And I'm certainly guilty of that as well. Like I don't, usually come on and be super vulnerable sometimes, but it's sometimes nice to get a window into people's lives and see that it's not all perfect and that they are struggling with the same things. And I think it's just that camaraderie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I have a hard time with. And you'll see, hopefully by the time you put this out in the world, it's a little bit better. But like my social media, I started gangbusters at the beginning of the year, like refreshed it. I haven't posted anything, I think, since International Women's Day, ironically, because I can't fake it.
Yeah.
I can do it
No,
for everybody
I'm the same.
else, but I
you get
can't,
stuck.
yeah. And I'm just like, do
Right.
I want to be vulnerable? Do I
Mhm.
want to talk about being a business person versus social media? Like,
Mhm.
does my voice matter when it
Matter.
talks about Facebook ads? I've got nothing new to say
But
about
it
Facebook
does
ads,
matter.
but it matters in this way, and it's finding balls to do it this way.
So
Yeah.
Alex made the comment, you've talked about this in the past. I think you talked about it in our presentation about, you probably follow a whole lot of social media and ad content people. So you're seeing this
You
stuff in
think that
your,
everybody knows what you have to say.
Yeah,
yeah, but
yeah.
most people don't.
It's
Yeah.
true.
You just
That's
happen to
very
be
true.
following a whole bunch of people that know the same topics or
It's very
talk
true.
about the same topics.
Very
Get
true.
rid of all those people, block them
I
and
get
start
it.
talking about ads.
Yeah.
Someone said to me when I was talking about I can't show up on my own account, and I was like, yeah, because right now you don't believe in the product.
Oh
was
my
like-
God.
Fuck.
No,
Oh,
That sucks.
fuck.
fuck is right.
There's,
Yeah.
I've been waiting for it.
I was surprised. it
You
took
hadn't
this
set it
long.
up until now.
I got a
Yeah.
couple of frigs in
And I
there.
was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, but wait, now say that again, Alex.
Don't
We need
you
to
don't
unpack
believe
that.
in the product, so you
Is-
can't push it.
Is that why I'm not showing up online?
I don't know. I think it's part of why I'm having a hard time.
That was just the moment of insightfulness
Right?
that I'll be like thinking about the whole drive home.
Let's just hit the power button on all of this stuff now and just go.
No,
home,
and I
because
don't
that
think-
was,
Oh my God.
Like,
But
I don't think it's
true.
warranted, but I think it's true. Like,
Yeah.
if you don't believe in what you're pushing, you won't push it because we
True.
have integrity.
Yep.
But I don't believe that it's true. Like, I don't believe that the product is bad.
No, but
Yeah,
you're feeling
but
some
right
impostery
now,
stuff
It's
around
really
it.
hard to push it.
it really is.
Way. I just think we
Yeah.
need to realize why it's hard for us to show up, but not internalize that, because I
Yeah.
don't think it's that we don't have things to offer. I
Yes.
think we just need to reframe it in our own minds.
Yeah.
And
figure
work
out
with
that
what we've
is.
got.
Yeah.
And support one another.
The house might be burning, but part of it is still, it's only the back of the house that's
That's
burning.
bones are
Bones
there.
are
Bones are
good.
good.
I'm like, we
The
could.
foundations of marketing are not changing.
Exactly.
What prompts people to act and buy and sell and the
Doesn't
4 Ps
change.
and all those things, those are still the backbone of all messaging.
Yeah, completely.
So like we just need to get back to that and just figure out how to now apply it. That's all.
Yeah.
And figure out who it is we're speaking to.
That's
Yeah, we've been chit-chatting about
I
business
know.
now.
Good
It's a
conversation, but
we're having
we
a
need to
great
start
combo.
wrapping it up.
Yeah. I'm enjoying it. So, but we're gonna move on from this.
Oh, this gives me the most, this is what makes me nervous because I'm so bad at like one thing answers.
Do you know
But
that
I'll try.
this?
We have not held anyone accountable
No.
to one word.
Like,
not one
you
person.
said that was your favorite. How
Yeah.
dare you have another
Yeah,
favorite?
This is the part that, believe it or not, some people like the most.
Yeah.
So some people might have just fast forwarded all the way, missed all the stuff, and they're coming to this.
I'm not good at favorites of things, and that's why. Like, if you ask me my favorite color, I'm like, well, right now it might be yellow, but
Well-
tomorrow it'll be blue.
Well, you can say that.
It's not, we're not gonna hold you to it.
It's like
forever.
that
Oh, right.
neurodivergent dislike of favorites.
Okay,
Right.
so it's time for.
I can't sing, so I'm not gonna.
What, you think I can?
Nope.
We're calling this like.
But I
a good
love it
song.
when you do.
I did take voice lessons way back then.
You did? We never
Yes,
talked about that.
I
don't
did,
think.
but I smoked at the time and she was like, you gotta quit smoking if you're gonna hit these
No,
notes. And I was
you
like,
can't.
nah.
I'd
I'd rather
rather do
smoke.
like the Phoebe Buffet sexy voice. so
But I'll
okay.
tell you this, I was living in an apartment at the time and it was like a 4-building apartment and I was learning Hungry Eyes. That was my.
Oh my
Stop
god.
it.
So I would sing Hungry Eyes in the morning before I went to work
Mhm.
and like belt it out.
Mhm.
And I didn't really know my neighbors at first, but we ended up getting to know each other that summer. And the girl across the hall was like, dude, what is your obsession? Do you like
Eric Carmen is the best.
what's happening with you in that song?
So funny. Oh.
Anyway, I didn't practice speed round back then. All right, here we go. Oh, it is a favorite one.
Oh god.
Okay, what's your favorite way to relax and unwind?
Honestly, I'm trying to not just be lazy to relax and unwind. So I will say I really, especially as we're going into summer, because later, reading. I really like to just pick up, and I'm not super snobby about books. But when it comes to relaxing, it has to be fiction. Like,
Yeah.
don't try to make me a better person when I'm trying to
No.
relax. But
Agreed.
yeah, but I just like to read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's called learning, not
Yes,
relaxing.
exactly. Exactly.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee. Black like my soul.
Okay, if you could have an unlimited supply of one thing, what would it be?
Oh, sweet money. Money is like the answer, but plane tickets. I'd like to travel unlimitedly and just be able to go wherever I wanted. That would be my number one.
What is your favorite type of food?
I don't really have one. I know that's a really like a cop-out thing to say. Like, I go through moods with things.
Yeah,
same.
same.
Because especially I'm not a huge cook. But like single, living alone and not being a big foodie, I had a made with local bar before I came here today. So that was my
That's a good choice.
my supper, but I really like pasta. I'm a carbs girl, like pasta, spaghetti, pizza, that kind of thing.
There you go.
All the favorite questions.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What's your favorite type of music?
Hungry eyes.
Hungry eyes. Yeah. But honestly, yeah, I don't know a lot of newer music because I kind of stalled when I was in my 20s. Like, if it's after mid 90s, I'm just like, what is that nonsense? Although
Yeah.
I am I was going to listen on the way down here today to start listening to the new Taylor Swift
Mm,
album,
that's so
but then I thought perhaps that might not put me in the right mind frame. I might sob.
Yeah.
So that will be on the trip back. I'll start
You're
listening.
gonna sob.
Yeah,
You're gonna leave here and go home and sob.
that's
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh, I cried on the way here. It's all
Did
good.
I cried before I came here too? Let's wear that.
Car tears are a thing, but yeah, it's
Car tears,
classic
car tears.
80s, 90s, like in my ute.
Yeah,
That's
same.
my favorite for sure.
Michelle, you are, for me, one of the very best things to have ever come out of Twitter.
Sweet.
So thank you. Social media brought us together,
It did.
and it's going to keep us together. And
Come
I-
high water or
I've,
hell
loved-
or
I've
whatever.
really enjoyed following your journey, and I really love watching the projects that you work on, and
Thank you.
you're just a great person.
Thank
So
you.
thanks for joining us. and-
Thank you for having me
Yeah, it's been a
finally
Pleasure
after months
chatting
and
with you.
months.
I mean, we've met several times here and there, but it's
Yeah.
really nice to have some dedicated time to chat with you.
Wonderful. Thank you again for having me and having patience and getting me here.
Oh, no, hey, listen, it was your one-eyed dog that was the problem, but yeah.
It's always blame the one I
I'll
don't.
blame the one-eyed dog. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again. That was fun.
It was fun.
I really liked her. So drove in from Truro to spend Sunday evening with us. And I think my favorite part of the conversation was when she said car tears.
Car tears. Those good old car tears. I have cried more in my car than I think I have anywhere else in my life.
Why do you think we have car tears? Because I do as well.
I'll tell you why I have them.
Why?
Music.
Oh, yeah. That might do it.
Music is a big one for me. Like
That
if a
might
sad
do it.
song comes on and I'm already in a state of mind, that's all it takes.
I find too, it's when you're in the car driving any length of time, it's when you have some alone time with your thoughts and your thoughts go crazy places.
Yeah, and no one can see you for the
Yeah, I
most part,
guess.
and you're just I don't know. I don't think it's all that safe to
Yeah,
have car tears.
well, you're right. I mean, could you, if you were stopped by the police for driving too fast or something, could you just go car tears?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I could. Yeah, I mean, you could just do like the sorry, officer.
I've done that before.
I haven't.
You haven't?
No.
Oh, I think I've done it twice.
Anyway, there were a few things like it is refreshing to talk to someone else in the same space.
Yes.
Especially someone who is older in the space like we are.
Yeah.
I think that is nice. And yes, like car tears, definitely. The fact that all three of us cried today is, I don't know if that's good or bad.
And it's a beautiful spring day. If it was raining and dull and yucky, I would understand it.
Yesterday, and yesterday was horrific.
Oh, it was pouring yesterday. I actually cried yesterday too. I cried
I
Thursday,
didn't.
Friday, and Saturday, and Sunday. I'm a mess this week.
I cried Friday. For some reason, I did not cry yesterday.
Well, listen, let us just, okay, you know what? I think we should dedicate this. Don't cry. Let's dedicate this episode to Jack,
Oh, Jack, my cat.
your cat, who you just had to put down, who, when you edit these podcasts, he's up on your lap and giving you some pointers
Yes.
and pressing buttons and stepping on your buttons and giving all the love. So
Such a good kitty.
this episode goes out to Jack and all the people that have car tears and who've had to,
And if you're listening to this and crying right now, we feel you.
yes. And
Hopefully you're not crying because you think our podcast sucks, but
well, that would, I kind of get that too, though. Car tears.
all right.
See you next Tuesday.
Yeah, next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Imposter Sisters. Please remember, we're not doctors or mental health experts. If you're looking for mental health guidance, please see our show notes for local resources. We'd like to thank our location sponsor, the Mellow Mug, located at 64 Delridge Lane, for donating this amazing space for us to have these important chats and for supplying us with drinks and goodies. Please give them a follow and make sure to stop in to see this beautiful spot for yourself. Until next time, keep your head high and we will see you next Tuesday. I've been meaning to tell you. I've got this feeling that won't subside. I look at you and I fantasize. You're mine tonight. Now I've got you in my sights with those hungry eyes. One look at you and I can't disguise. I've got hungry eyes. I feel the magic between you and I. That's good.